Welcome to the More Than Marketing podcast, where we get to sit and chill with the best up and coming brands, entrepreneurs, and life coaches who are really making a difference. My co host today and every day is the amazing Jenny Cato,
Woo-woo.
aka Genergy.
Genergy's in the house, everybody. Very excited for this transformational life specialist guest that we have today.
Yep, today we are honored to have Danielle Lee Darling. She's a transformation specialist, certified identity coach, and Theta healing practitioner. She helps women create rapid freedom.
Yes.
Danielle,
Yeah,
welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be with you guys. My whole thing is I'm just so passionate about helping people feel like there is and really understand that there is nothing wrong with them. Nothing wrong with them. We have all of these stories about, oh, I have this diagnosis or that diagnosis. The DSM is always telling us what's wrong with us, but really our brains are just hardwired to keep us safe. And we develop these patterns and these behavior patterns and these ways of coping with life that made sense when we were little kids, but it's not working now. And so it's just coming back and returning to ourselves and finding self-compassion and self-awareness. And I do that through identity-based coaching. I do that through theta healing. I use inner child work. I use somatic movement and a lot of different mix of modalities to help women really come home to themselves. So I'm so excited to talk to you guys today.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I've had a special experiences with Danielle. Personally, she has been my transformational life specialist and bestie, but it's pretty astounding. And I was thinking last night when you did a healing on my mother wound and my whole body shifted that day. That next day, my hip was sore, and I had been having issues and thinking about going to physical therapy because my one side was just not activating. So you can go to a physical therapist, you can go to counselors, but Danielle has this incredible way of being with a person and getting to the core stuff, removing it. And then that next day, my hip was aligned. It was insane.
Well, our bodies are trying to send us signals all the time. And especially in the Western culture, we are constantly intellectualizing everything. We're trying to understand our emotions and everything through our brains. But our body houses so much wisdom. And so part of my practice is I actually go through the physical ailments that people are having. And so with Jenny's case, she was experiencing a misalignment in her hip where the left side of her body was dropped. And knowing that our body, the right side represents the masculine energy and the left side represents the feminine energy, we are able to go, okay, what is going on in the female relationships that you have, or her being a woman, was her relationship with herself even, that we can start to decode what's going on. And so that's why she had such a radical shift, because she was feeling suppression from her mother wound, which was suppressing the left side of her body. And especially in the hip area, that is an ejection point for a lot of our emotions. So that's why a lot of people have hip issues, is because as it's all getting stored there. And as we've progressed as a society, we are sitting way more than we have ever sat before. So it makes total sense why we're having so many issues in our hip area as well.
Do you mind if I ask what you mean by mother wound?
Mother wound. Oh,
That is a good question.
yeah. So through our childhood experiences, we experience our lives through our parents. And our relationship with our parents is their first foundation in understanding the world. And so the mother wound is usually when there is a traumatic incident that is involving our mother. Same thing with the father wound, same thing. So those things can influence the way that we see the world and how, again, as it shows up in the body on the left or the right side. For instance, I had a chiropractic client who she was a chiropractor. I'm not a chiropractor. She was a chiropractor. And she was talking about how she had a resentment towards her dad. Well, anger and resentment is housed in the back a lot of times and in the shoulder area. And I was like, well, how's your right shoulder? Again, masculine on the right side. And she's like, actually, I've had this chronic pain in my right shoulder for quite some time. And I was like, all right, we'll clear the resentment. And a week and a half later, she's like, the pain is completely gone. So the body is signaling to us all the time. We just need to tap into the wisdom and hear it. So, yeah.
Wow, because I actually do have pain in my right upper back. I've had it for years, and I just kind of get a lacrosse ball and just roll on it. At night, it's like this little knot that just won't go away.
Yep.
And so, how much do you charge? I'm just kidding, right?
I know you got to give a session with
put
Danielle.
that in the budget for sure.
I know it is, and that's the thing too that's so beautiful about this is that people will pay for supplements, so they'll pay for physical therapy and things like that. But the issue will keep coming back until you address the underlying cause, and it's not that hard. The trouble is people. Here we go. A lot of times people are resistant, especially in our Western culture, to actually talking about the emotion. They're afraid of what's going to come up if they open Pandora's box, so to speak. And really, that's what's beautiful about working with a healer, working with a coach, to actually give them a space to gently navigate those without re-traumatization, without all of the depth that some other modalities go into.
And I was thinking about how, like with Danielle's one session with me that corrected my body, and even all of the sessions that I've had with her and heard how she processes things and heals things, these could be months and years of therapy that with Theta, it's astounding. Generational things, your own, and I'm forgetting the 4 levels of things that you're able to heal and remove from generations, from your own soul, and how instantaneous it is. And being in the subconscious Theta wave when you are doing the healing, I feel like is a lot easier than doing the traditional therapy and crying and
or even going EMDR, which is like experiencing the emotion all over. It is great.
Yeah.
It can be lots of really great things have come from that. But it's not necessary to go and experience the depth of that emotion all over again. So I'll give you a little bit of rundown of what the Theta healing actually is. Theta healing actually is. So it is a modality that is rooted in source energy. So what I do is I take a client through a questioning process, which is called a digging process. So whatever area that they want to explore, whether it's Jenny's hip pain, her mother wound, with the client with the back pain, I do a digging process to understand what is actually going on. And a lot of it is centered around beliefs, because our beliefs are created from our life experiences. So we have this set of beliefs that influence our thoughts, and our thoughts influence our emotions, and our emotions come out of our body, right? And so if I can change the belief, I'm changing the thought process, and then I'm also changing the emotion. So it's a lot of belief work where I can install, like, I am worthy, I am deserving, I am enough, which is a lot of the basis of a lot of things that people are dealing with. And with this new programming, their life starts to shift. So we do a digging process. We figure out what we need to uninstall, what we do need to install. Think of it like plugging your brain into the Matrix, right? Where Neo wakes up and he's like, I know Kung Fu. It's like, oh, I'm confident as fuck, right? Like that is what we are aiming to do with this process. And then we just take them into a Theta brainwave state through meditation, which opens the gateway to the subconscious, so we can get direct access to this belief system and go in and rewire it. And it actually rewires the neural pathways in the brain. So immediately people will feel a sense of calm, a rejuvenation, more energy. And they might feel a little wobbly emotionally, because it's like ripping off a scab, like that's festered there for a long time. And we're re-engineering the tissue underneath, essentially. Metaphorically, not actually. I'm not actually plugging you into a machine like the Matrix. We're plugging into source energy and allowing the creator to do the work. So in a couple of weeks after their experience, they'll start to notice, I'm not having that negative thought anymore. I'm not having that pattern of behavior that I'm not feeling as anxious anymore. So it's really an amazing, remarkable experience that people have through this.
How did you become this, Danielle? I mean, I'm sure you weren't always this version of you.
Yeah.
What's the origin story?
Well, I grew up with a hypercritical father and a fear-based mother that liked to control everything out of scarcity and fear. So I had my own belief systems about not being enough, needing to be a people pleaser, a perfectionist in order to be lovable. So I dealt with that my entire life. And then because we attract the partner that is most like the parent that we wanted the most love from, I married my father, metaphorically, essentially. Good man, not good for my childhood trauma, let's just say that, and exacerbated all of those wounds. And so I, through that experience, continued to lose myself and decided about 3.5 years ago to get a divorce. And it's been a process of reclamation. So knowing that I was gifted in, coaching, I was always the friend that people would come to for advice. So I was like, okay, I'm really feeling called to coaching. Got drawn to identity work, and then through that started my own process, started coaching people, and was continuing to heal myself, and met my mentor who started with Theta healing with me, and I had such a profound experience with myself. She was like, this is the perfect connection point to what you're doing with identity-based coaching, because identity-based coaching works with the narrative of our life, the stories that we tell ourselves, the conscious stuff, like, oh, what am I actually hearing in my head? And we rewrite it to help shift that belief system. But it doesn't have the subconscious reprogramming. And so with the Theta healing, we come in and we actually change the foundation of those beliefs, and we're changing the story around it at the same time. And that's why I say I create rapid freedom for people, because instead of ruminating in therapy for years about the same issue, we're going right to the root, we're cutting it out from the root, and we're creating a new story around it at the same time so that we can shift things faster. And so I joke that I'm my best client, because I started using that process on myself and have experienced, like every time Jenny and I see each other, it's like, I feel like I'm a completely different person than I was just like 3 weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
It's creating such massive, rapid shifts. So, yeah.
This is fascinating.
It really is. And what's fascinating is to watch her do a session and how many beliefs that she digs out. People don't understand how many. I would like to hear a list of like an example of what kind. It will be, and she's so cute. She'll like voice note, I just dug out 32 and rewrote 64 beliefs. Or like, it's a lot.
Yeah.
We think 90,000 thoughts a day. Only 3% are non-repeating. So we are in this loop. A lot of it subconscious. So you're able to like dig out a lot of the subconscious stuff.
Yeah, for me, I get so much joy in helping people find compassion for themselves through that self-understanding of that it isn't their fault, that it's just their brain keeping them safe. And then my favorite thing is to I see like a spider web when I work with my clients, and I can see how, that the Always Sunny in Philadelphia meme with he's like Charlie smoking a cigarette and he's like showing how everything is connected. That's me in a session. I'm like, okay, I can see how this is connected to that makes total sense. And I've had so many clients say to me, we have one person who as well, who is one of my clients, and she's like, I have been in therapy for 50 years, and I spent 2 hours with you and made complete sense of my whole entire life.
Awesome.
And the compassion that comes out of that is like, oh, like it wasn't a mistake. This is all happening for me. I can see how this all happened. It wasn't my fault. And then I give them control. Like, here's the pen. Let's rewrite the story. And there's so much empowerment that comes from that when you feel like you're in control instead of being the victim and having everything happening to you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, it's very interesting to think that there's somebody like you, but I'm sure there's a lot of them. But
there needs to be more.
Yeah,
there's
feel
a lot
like
of healing that needs to happen.
This is something that might even replace, doctors or actual therapists eventually, because it does just take 1 minute to change you completely.
Absolutely.
I know that for me, meditation is definitely something that I have to do every single day.
Absolutely.
And on the days that I feel like I didn't have the best day of my life, I probably didn't meditate that day. But it's like a switch. I wake up, I'm like, no, I can't leave the house until I become that best version of myself, because this, I guess, life, even though time isn't really linear and it's all kind of happening at the same time. I don't know if you kind of believe the same thing. But I really do think that more people like you just need to tell everyone that nothing is wrong.
Yeah.
And I know you had said that nothing's wrong with them, but like nothing is wrong, period.
True. Everything is happening for you. You know, I this summer I adopted a mantra that was everything is perfect. And when you start looking at life through that lens, the victim mentality falls away. We stop blaming other people for things that are happening to us. We take radical acceptance of our life. And there's so much more ease and flow versus us fighting against something. It's like, oh, when you start looking at everything as it's happening for me, it changes one, your energy and your frequency, which automatically attracts better things to you, right?
Right.
And then it also just helps you operate in the world in a more peaceful, like flow-like state. So, yeah, I totally agree with everything that you're saying.
I was looking through I think it was your Instagram, and you had mentioned a certain prayer that is geared toward forgiveness and really helping to deal with the toxic people in your life.
Oh, yeah.
Ho'oponopono?
Ho'oponopono.
Ho'oponopono? Is
Yeah.
that what you
Say it again.
Is
Say
it
it again.
Ho'oponopono?
Ho'oponopono.
Yeah, she
Ho'oponopono.
put me on that.
Yeah.
Literally. Have you tried it?
No. I only found out because I was like, okay, well,
Dude.
I had known about you from her, and I had, gone through your stuff, and, from your social media, I see someone who's radiates for sure, super beautiful. And then when you walked in, I was like, yep, that must be her because she's radiating, super beautiful.
Oh,
And then talking to
see
you,
that. Thank you.
yeah, talking to you, I could tell you're beautiful on the inside too.
Yeah, she is.
But that's how I saw that
Ho'oponopono.
Ho'oponopono.
It really is a life-changing prayer.
Yeah.
And it will instantly shift your life. After you say this prayer that has 4 repeating, what does it say?
Yeah, let me give you a little bit of
Yes,
backstory
yes,
on
yes,
it. So
yes.
this is what I've heard. Tony Robbins talks about this prayer, and this kind of how I found it is there was a psychologist that was in Hawaii who was brought into the psychiatric clinic where people were not moving out of it. Like they were just getting stuck, and there was a lot of violence in the clinic. It was just bad. And so he spent like 6 months or so reading over the file. Like he didn't even actually meet with any person, and he granted unconditional forgiveness through this prayer. And it's 4 phrases. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. And you just repeat it over and over and over again, holding the person in intention. And within like 6 to 12 months, the entire clinic was cleaned out. Like everybody had been quote unquote healed or in a place where they could move on. And it's all about energy and frequency, because when you start looking at, when you say, I'm sorry, he didn't know these people. He didn't know their story, but he is like, I'm sorry for anything, any judgments I have made, any ways of the world that are influencing the way that you feel about yourself. Please forgive me.
Wow.
Right? And it is about, it's just so reflective of how energy and frequency is so important and how we all influence one another. And so this is like, if you're dealing with a toxic ex, or like what I love about Mel Robbins talks about the let them theory, and the Ho'oponopono prayer really just ties in beautifully with that, because you're like, well, what if I'm dealing with toxic people and they're still trying to infiltrate into my life or influence it in some way? This prayer is a wonderful way where when you feel powerless, this is a prayer that you can use to kind of feel like you're more in the power, because all you can control in life is your own energy. We can't control what other people are doing. And so when we take our own power back in controlling our energy and how we want to feel about ourselves and how we want to feel towards other people, it creates a ripple effect in the consciousness.
And it's instant too. As I've done this, right after, I've had people text me,
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry. Or, like, it's wild. Do it
Wow.
and your life will change.
I really don't think I have any toxic people in my life at this time. I love forgiveness. I've always loved it. And I mean, I could tell you really horrible things that people have done to me, and I'm just not mad. I'm just not mad about it.
Yeah.
I don't know how to harbor grudges.
I love that about you.
I just don't know how. And my partner, among other people too, have kind of they've said that maybe like that's kind of like not a good trait, because to me, I'm still like kind of like a dog. Like if you accidentally kick your dog, like within 2 seconds, they're like, oh, I love you anyway. Like let's just whatever. And that's just kind of the way my brain kind of. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But I do know that a lot of people will just get fired up the moment someone's name, pops up, or the moment a notification pops up on their phone, because they're harboring so much anger or resentment toward that person. And what would you say to somebody in my life? What could I say to them to kind of gear them more toward understanding what we're talking about? Because I feel like I have the right intentions, but I don't know how to grab the words correctly and put them in order in an easy and clear and concise way to kind of help in that way.
Help them say it. So what I'm hearing from you is that you want to give them some wisdom so they can like let that go. Right?
It happened just the other day.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine was just absolutely mad, and she was saying things like, I'm going to destroy his life, and he doesn't even. And I was like, no, dude, like, just let it go. And she's like, no, you don't understand. Like, you weren't there. You don't know what, he did and whatnot. I was like, no, but you're going to give bad stuff to yourself if you're trying to give bad stuff to them. And, I feel like that kind of sounds like I don't know what I'm talking about. And I don't know, but I know. Like, I didn't go to school to learn this stuff, but somehow when you just know something, it's just the truth.
I'd ask them questions. I'd say, how is hurting them serving you?
Man, I'm bad at asking questions. And my wife tells me all the time, she's always like, why did they break up? I'm like, I don't know. She's like, you don't ask? I'm like, it's not my business if she wants to tell me.
I really want to be more intentional about what questions to ask.
Yeah.
That's what they say.
But that's a good one.
Right
So, well, there's a phrase that says a resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die.
Yeah.
And it's so true. I also saw this really great sermon that a pastor gave that talked about every time that you harbor that hurt and you don't actually process it, it's like carrying, he had the whole stage littered with like 20-pound kettlebells, and he kept picking them up, and it's like it weighs you down energetically. So maybe what would it feel like to you if you just let it go? Why do you need to pay him back? Because that stuff works its stuff out. The universe has a way of you can't run away from karma. If you are creating bad karma, it will come back to you eventually. Even if you go on to make $1 million, it probably will be taken from you, because there isn't an energetic checks and balances when you work with the laws of the universe that you have to adhere to in order to get abundance and keep abundance. So just let it work itself out. So yeah, that's the thing, is that this person that you are in relationship with is carrying that weight, and as we just talked about metaphysically, that energy is getting stored in the body. So,
and this makes me think of working with healing people themselves, and then people healing relationships with others. There is a natural resistance to letting go of hurt. Like when part of Theta healing is asking if they want to be healed.
Yeah.
A lot of times there is a resistance and there's a shutdown.
Because it's serving them.
It's serving them in some way.
So speaking from my own experience, I was sexually assaulted in my 20s, and I buried that shit deep. Because I'm like, well, if I let them see that it affected me, then they win. And so I used it as fuel for my ambition, for my drive, because if I crumble under this, then they're gonna win. But I also call that the bury and barrel through method, because that anger, that resentment is enough to pull you out of the trenches of your grief and your sorrow to get you moving. But it will only take you halfway down the field. It's not going to be a long-term energy source for you to achieve what you want to achieve. And so the other aspect of that is to move through it. Because if you don't, it's the bury and barrel through method. I buried that stuff so deep and barreled through. I'm not going to let it affect me. I'm not going to let them win. And eventually it resulted in pain. It resulted in me not dealing with my own stuff and attracting people into my life that continued that perpetuation of emotional abuse. So we need to educate people on how to actually process the emotion when it is coming up instead of just burying it. We're so busy in the Western culture. People are like, I don't have time to deal with this. Like, and that's trickling down to our kids.
Yeah.
So stop crying. Like, I don't have time to deal with this. We got to get in the car, right?
Yeah.
And it's so much more effective to take 2 minutes and talk to your kid, 2 minutes and talk to your kid inside of you and say, hey, bud, what's up? You're causing a ruckus and it sounds like you need some attention. I work with my clients and I talk to them about like anxiety, and anxiety is like a secret message your inner child is leaving for you. It's saying, hey, remember, we didn't like this the first time, right? And it's your little inner child running up to you saying, pick me up, I need some attention. And so if you just welcome them in and say, yeah, you need something right now. What is it that you need? What is going on in my life right now that might be a reflection to what I experienced in the past and what is true now versus what happened then? And allowing that energy to move through, having that conversation with that emotion, with that aspect of yourself is so healing. And it's not hard. It happens once you learn the skills, and that's why I teach my people. So once you learn it, you can move through it so much quicker. People don't want to deal with their emotions because they think they're going to have to sit for hours and hours in therapy. It's like, no, that's not necessary once you know what to do with it.
Speaking of dealing with emotions, a video that you just released that is gaining a lot of traction and a lot of comments, especially from males.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. It's been
about processing your emotions and that emotions could affect your physical body.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
I just did a quick reel on like TikTok on like, if you're feeling anger, like if you're feeling it in your head, it's anger. If you're feeling it in your throat, it's grief. If it's feeling it in your mouth, it's disgust. Just helping people to kind of cue in.
Repeat
to,
that.
I know, right?
It's a whole bunch of them. So if you're feeling it in your head, it's anger. If you're feeling it in your muscles, it's anxiety, right? If you're feeling it in your mouth, it's disgust. So I was actually just talking to my partner about this on the way here. It's very interesting that the trolley comments on this TikTok are all from men. They're like, I'm a human and none of this is true. Like, this is not how I'm feeling. I was like, I think, how do I want to say this? I think our men have been given a disservice.
Yes.
I feel like they have not been given the language to express their emotions. They haven't been given the space to be vulnerable. They are taught like two emotions, anger and somewhat happy. Like that's about it, right? They aren't given the tools in order to express themselves. So of course they're not, and they're also taught to think their way through problems. Right? They're not taught to feel their way through problems. And we are living in a very intellectualized society. I mean, even a lot of times the therapeutic practices can be very intellectualized. We're thinking about our feelings, not actually feeling our feelings and registering how that feels in the body and the gifts in that and understanding what's really underneath that. So we talked about a couple of different scenarios with clients, but I am dealing with a client with Crohn's, and she unfortunately has experienced sexual trauma from a family member, and that makes total sense why that entire area of her body would house extra weight, would be in storing all of those emotions down there. And if we just take a minute to unravel that, to process the forgiveness and let that go energetically in our bodies, the healing that can happen from that. And that's why, there's so many men that are physically ill. A lot of men deal with back pain, right? Well, anger, resentment is a lot of the back issues, right? And especially lower back for men.
Mhm.
Lower back has to do with financial burdens. And men are taught to be the providers for their family.
Right.
And so if we start to unravel and deal with their emotions about that burden, the resentments and the anger that they're having towards every aspect of their life, we can see the back pain start to alleviate themselves. But it's just got to be their willingness to look at it, and then the correlation between vulnerability and weakness is a huge misnomer, because vulnerability is actually the most courageous thing, to be vulnerable with another human being and saying, this is how I truly feel. These are my emotions around it. And I love that there is a rise of men's groups. My partner's in a men's group as well. And I've seen the impact that it's made on his life. And there needs to be more safer spaces for men, because there is so much wisdom in their bodies that they're completely ignoring, because they feel like they have to think things through, and not that would make them, if they actually acknowledged what was happening with them,
Right.
that would make them weak in some way.
Yeah, they got to be a man, Man up.
Man up.
I feel like the narrative, at least my algorithm is showing me,
Yeah.
like, on social media and stuff like that. Like, I'm not sure what the rest of the world is seeing, but I am seeing a lot of more men coming to the forefront and saying, we're doing it wrong. We need to create more safe spaces for ourselves as well as for women. So,
There is that point when a woman and a man, and I know you experience it on a daily basis, it's just fascinating. And any advice for when someone is starting to feel an emotion and then they go to like shut it down, they start to feel that, and what would you say, what are some words of advice to give to someone when they're, how to even process an emotion?
Well, breath is always a wonderful way to start, because then we can switch on our sympathetic nervous system by taking a deep breath, a 4-4-4. So breathe in, hold for 4, breathe out, hold for 4 is a great way to just do 3 or 4 of those breaths. That's a great way. And then what I like to teach my people is something called the face and embrace method. So when you are feeling an emotion, it can feel overwhelming, especially if it's something big like anger, rage, shame, fear, right? And that overwhelming anxiety that can shut people down a lot. When you face it, think of it knocking on your door. And I love to see my emotion personified as the younger version of myself, because usually that's where it's coming from, right? And you welcome him or her in, and you hug them. Because when you welcome the emotion, it disarms it. It disarms the fear that we have around it, the I don't know what to do with it kind of feeling. And imagine bringing the emotion in and sitting it down for a fireside chat and saying, all right, what's up? Well, you're here for a reason. So what's going on? And you can ask yourself questions like, what is this emotion telling me about my situation? What is this emotion telling me about who I am as a person? Because a lot of times when we're feeling like shame or whatever, it is rooted in that core belief that I'm not enough, or I'm unlovable, or I'm unworthy. And we can get to what's actually going on. And then you can thank the emotion and say, hey, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate the message. You're free to go now. And give it another hug and send it on its way. And then reclaim your powerful truth. Reclaim how you want to feel, because it really is a choice in the grand scheme of things. We can choose how we feel about everything. And yes, we can choose to push it down and bury it. That is a choice. But we can also find loving compassion for ourselves in that moment and say, I accept myself and love myself even though I'm feeling fear. And this fear has given me some information. I know now what I need to do to move forward, how I want to feel about myself, and make that conscious choice.
I feel like I'm a pusher. I definitely push stuff down pretty often, and I do it in my mind. I'm picturing like the old school Nintendo, like whenever you'd be playing a game and it's not going your way, you just kind of like reset,
Yeah.
And so I find myself doing that. Like the other day I was sitting at a coffee shop and I was working with a friend and I just felt, off. And I was like, you know what, dude, I'm going to start my day again. I'll be right back. So I walked out, walked around, came back, sat back down, and I just felt like 100% better, but I didn't ask myself, like, why am I feeling off, or, what's going on? I was like, I got to reset,
Yeah.
And I probably do that at least maybe once a day. I haven't done it today, but I did start my day with meditation. So it's probably those days that I don't start with meditation. I have to just do a quick little reset. But also, I feel like I've gotten, through meditation, I've gotten fairly good at walking on earth and living this life that we're living as if I have no personal history. Because I really feel like after a long time, the memories you have, like, how do you know, like, that's even the way it went down?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
You know the science behind that, right? That, like, nostalgia, like, you don't remember the actual memory. You remember the last way that you remembered that memory.
And it kind of
And it
changes
can
each time.
change over time, especially depending on what emotion you're feeling at the time that you are pulling that memory, right? And so it coats it and changes it and morphs it into something. I work with my brother and on this healing as well, and he'll bring up something. He's like, "Don't you remember that?" I was like, "No, I remember the way that you remembered it." and because we all are operating from our own schema, our own way of seeing the world, and it is a choice. Like, it is a choice every single moment that we want to either see a victim world or we want to see a victor world. So yeah, and I love what you said there about, you're like, I felt off. So anytime, this is what I really want to help people understand, and that's why I would tie the body into it, is that anytime you're feeling in tension in your body, a pinch in your gut, a pang in your chest, ooh, okay, that is your body trying to get your attention. And then you're thinking, the next step is think, okay, what thought am I thinking right now, right? And then the most powerful question that you can ask yourself is that really true? Because so much of us are running on a narrative that is filled with stories that are there to keep us small, keep us safe, keep us little, like, keep us unseen, keep us unheard, so that we can stay safe. And especially as entrepreneurs, we are constantly needing to push ourselves out of our comfort zone. And that can trigger your inner child like nothing else and get those belief systems riled up and those thoughts riled up. So is that really true is so powerful. And then you can choose your powerful truth that you can return to, and then take your action step from there instead of from a place of like, oh, unless this feels uncomfortable, I'm not going to do it.
Earlier, you mentioned think your way through problems and feel your way through problems. How do you feel your way through problems?
It is about uncovering the messages, right? So there's like an influencer I'm watching right now. He's so awesome. And he's like talking about like we are constantly in our heads trying to find the solution, but the solution can be in the body. So first, if you're feeling tension or wanting to solve the problem, this is a new modality that I am actually developing right now, which is somatic movement. And it's called the moksha method, which is, moksha means liberation of the death and life cycle. And when you think about the aspect of humanity is that our souls are here to experience the humanity of life through emotion. This method is about finding liberation through healing movement. So we're incorporating healing through Theta healing, inner child work, and somatic movement and release. And so the best thing to do is to like move your body, to dance, to shake, to move that energy out. Because when you have that tension, it's going to cloud your judgment. You're going to, if you have that tension of like, okay, for instance, a lot of people operate in a scarcity mindset. So if you're trying to make a decision about money, but your scarcity like background music is playing, that belief is playing, right? You're going to, if in your mind, you're going to think your way through that scarcity belief, right? But if we shake out the anxiousness and the tension that belief creates in our body, it clears the energy for us to feel our way through to another better solution. Does that make
Because
sense?
our body has the wisdom
Our body
and
has
the
the wisdom.
intuition, and it knows, but we so often block it by thinking with our head, which the lean test,
Oh, yeah.
that is something that is pretty revolutionary for people.
Yeah, muscle testing.
Muscle testing.
Yep. So I use a couple different forms of it in my my practice, but muscle testing, you can use a sway test. So
Oh, I think I saw a
yeah,
reel.
yes, yeah. I love to teach people that. So you face north and you get grounded and centered in your body. Take a nice deep breath. And then you ask your body, show me yes. And you should sway forward. And you say, body, show me no, and you'll sway backwards. So you can ask your body anything. If you're trying to make a decision on stuff, you can ask a question like, is it in my best and highest interest to do X, Y, and Z? Never ask should. Should I do this? Because then your should equals shame, right? So shoulding will already pull all of those beliefs and those dialogues that we have about what we should, what's the right thing to do, and not trusting what our body actually is telling us what to do. So
Is it in my
best and highest interest?
best and interest? Cool.
And a lot of chiropractors use this type of testing. It's called applied kinesiology for foods as well. So if you're trying to make dietary changes, you think you have allergies, you can literally hold the food in your hands and say, is it in my best and highest interest to eat this? And if you
Your
get a
body
no,
will
your
say
body
yes
will
or
be like
no.
yes or no.
That's crazy.
So if you have a bunch of
I
supplements
know.
laying around, like go through
Literally,
each
with
one.
everything, I have made a decision because we overthink it. Oh, should I go out tonight? Should I stay in? I'll be like, I'll ask, do I go out tonight? Do I eat this? Do I have this makeup? Do I buy this? Everything.
No way.
Yeah.
Did you ask it about coming to the studio today?
No, I did not.
Okay, cool. I'm like, did it lean you forward?
That's
Cool.
anything that she's questioning, right?
Yeah.
Right.
No,
so she's
The drive here made me like,
It was all
this
good
is
until
a
we
lot.
got into our
This
car.
is a lot.
Yeah.
Natural traffic during a rainstorm. Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
but we are the traffic.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'd use to calm me down. Whenever I start to get annoyed, thinking like, oh, look at all these people. No. Why are there so many people on the road? I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I am the problem.
Yeah.
Look at me on the road.
Yeah. And think about the fun thing that you're going to, and imagining everybody else on the road going to like that fun thing instead of choosing.
I like that
be
party.
like, when somebody cuts me off, I'm like, they are trying to get their wife to the hospital because
Yeah.
they are having a baby.
Yeah.
Like, good, Godspeed, right? Like,
Yeah, same.
like you obviously needed to go somewhere, so let me give you that space to go
So
somewhere.
funny. I love it. Reframing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The way you see things changes your whole life.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. And in that, all the way you see things is rooted in your belief system. So it's so important to have a good handle on what is actually running underneath the surface.
You guys honestly are so inspirational. Both of you are so incredible in how you think, who you
incredible.
are. I'm just very honored to be friends.
Yeah, how do we find each other?
The Lord.
I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I find it pretty cool that, like, you know how some people might go online and say in search of, or they'll go on, like, I think there's a Tinder Friends portion of Tinder, or maybe it's one of the other ones that has, like, a Friends, like Bumble Friends or something like that. But I've never really, like, sought friends out, but I've always met, like, the best people.
Yeah.
Like, when
Because
I said
you're the best.
when I said I really
Right.
don't have any toxic people, like, in my life, like, I get lucked out all the time.
Well, it's an energetic thing. I mean, you
Yeah.
hold such beautiful energy, and so does Jenny. And I mean, that's how we became friends. Is that we were at a vendor event, and somebody knew you and was like, "Oh my God, your energy is just like Jenny's. You need to meet her," and like basically dragged me out to your bus to meet you because they just saw the connection. And what you'll find is when you're doing this work, you will find that people will start to be repelled by you, because they don't match your frequency, and you will automatically just repel the people that are radiating at such a low frequency, because your high frequency will be just, they'll bounce right off of you. You won't even see them, And it's so interesting. Like, I just met the love of my life, and
She did.
I did. I can tell you the story about, if you want to talk about
Yes.
calling in soul companions and stuff like that, I'll tell you my process and why I found it. But, I had taken a break from the dating apps for a while because I was running into the same things. I'm like, okay, I got to get clear on what I truly want and what are the patterns in me, what are the pieces in me that keep seeking out the same F-boys, like the same, all of that. And I went to work on that and I came back to the apps and I remember telling you, like, I am attracted to a completely different type of guy now.
And she would
like
show
I
me
wasn't
she
even
had a certain type before,
I did.
and then she would show me. I was like, they're different.
It's
yes, I can see
completely different.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
And so like my partner now, like I should not have liked his profile because I have standards. I'm like, you have to at least write something in your profile. But like there was something about him, and I was like, this one I hope I hear from. And we connected on Lionsgate Portal, and he is an absolute match for me in every single way. And so I'm working on a book. It's going to be called Data How to Heal Yourself in 50 First Dates or Less.
That's a good one.
It is all about being intentional with everything that we do, with every relationship, whether it be friends or whether it be with a potential partner. It's all information. And when you start to approach dating as more of a research expedition about like how I'm learning to interact with people and how I'm learning about how these interactions are affecting me, what it's triggering in me, what are the things that are like, ooh, I might need to get some attention to that piece because I was triggered by that. So it's about being very intentional about every single date that you're going on. And then when you go on the date, write down, this is what was like, yes, about this person was like a full body yes. And what this was like, this is the stuff that's definitely going on the non-negotiable. Like I can't have this in my life at all list, and continuing to curate that. And so I had been creating this list for like a year and a half. Meanwhile, I was also listening to songs that evoked the feeling of me already having the relationship that I desired. So songs that made me feel like the type. There's a song called Soul Love by Melka Russell. It's an amazing song. It is about a heterosexual union, but it talks about the divine love that she wanted to call in. And I would listen to that song every day and just feel the feeling of already having it so that I got my nervous system used to that feeling. Because if we're used to chaos, if we're used to having a partner that's going to put us down and whatnot, then when we experience, that's why a lot of people will run from somebody that's super secure because it's so uncomfortable, right? Like it's not what we know. Our nervous system isn't used to it. So it's about getting our nervous system ready to receive the love. And so, yeah. And I got
Data. Can't wait.
I know.
When I was ready to settle down, well, first I got heartbroken. I was really heartbroken by an ex. We were together off and on for like 7 years. And I was completely heartbroken, so I just stayed off the dating scene. That's not true. I just did the player card for like 2 years. And then when I was ready to settle down, I don't know where I read it or where I heard it, but it basically said that you have to kind of see where you're at and is there even room for someone else?
Yeah.
And there wasn't. I had like a laptop. Like I would sleep next to like a laptop, some other stuff, books, my journals, so there wasn't even room in my king bed for somebody else. So I cleaned that out, and then I cleaned some drawers just in case, stuff like that. And literally in no time, and I had never done dating apps, but COVID happened and I couldn't go to work for 3 months. So I literally had all the time in the world. And I was like, well, maybe I'll do one of those dating apps that, people have done. So I got on it. Nothing was going on. The conversations were really, really boring. I had spoken to like 3 different girls. And then I got a notification from, I think it was Tinder, and it said, hey, why don't you expand your search? And so I clicked it, and then boom, that's when I met Lauren. And now I'm in Nashville. Because that's where she was at.
Where were you at before? Austin. No.
Texas, Laredo, Texas.
Laredo.
And so, and literally that happened within a week. And so the friends, my coworkers, when we got back to work, I told them the story and they were like, dude, that doesn't happen to anyone. Most of the time people are on these dating apps for years and it's just like a mess and a mess and a mess.
Well, you stop seeing the people and there's a book called Calling in the One that talks a lot about what that process that you just did. And it talks about like setting the table for 2 and for creating that, like an extra drawer and some extra space for someone. Because if your life, there is no room, then they're not going to energetically not going to be able to come in for sure. I love that you did that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and that's what happened. And again, she was like no one I had ever dated. Like everyone was exactly the same. You know, and then it was just something about her and the conversation, how she would make me laugh at 7 o'clock in the morning. You know, just little things like that. And I thought it was, you know, she was just so intelligent too.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it was pretty cool. And here we are.
And here we are.
Yeah.
I teach you a cool relational psychology game that your viewers can use for dating and stuff like that. So it's 3 questions, and the questions have a double meaning. So you ask, and this is great because they can't fudge it. They can't put their best effort forward because they don't know what they're actually answering. So if you say, what's your favorite color and deep reason why? And this is actually what they think about themselves and their view of their own personality.
Okay.
Then the second question is, what is your favorite animal and deep reason why? And this is what their ideal partner is or what they're attracted to in other people. And the last one is your favorite form of water and deep reason why. Now, this one's a little bit weird because it can be everything from like an ice cube to a puddle to the ocean. I've gotten car wash, shower. I've gotten a float tank before. Lots of different opportunities there. But this is their view of sex and their sexuality. So how they approach, you know, sex.
What if it's a bath or a shower?
Do you want me to tell you my personal experience with that one?
Yes.
Okay, so the guy who was the shower one, it was an incredibly sterile environment. Like in his house, it was incredibly sterile. Okay. Everything was spotless clean.
Right.
And the sexual experience was very much get in, get it done, get it out. Like there was no passion about it, and it takes some interpretation, right, to like kind of decode what the sexual one is, because I had interpreted it a completely different way, but then puzzling the pieces back together, I was like, oh yeah, of course.
His answer was shower. So that was it's just like a pass.
It was like get in,
okay,
get it done, get out.
Okay.
And there's a whole lot of moving, and it was the worst sexual experience of my life. It was. Honestly,
I feel like I've seen these questions before, and my answer for the water was the beach. Like I was like, of course, the beach. You know, the ocean.
So what does that mean?
But what is your deep reason why? That's the most important part.
Because I feel just free. Like I feel like the ocean. Like if I were to die right now and wake up in heaven, I'd be at a beach and I would just see the ocean.
It's like freedom and renewal and like ease and calm. And that's what sex can be when you're with the right person. It can be very liberating and freeing. And it can be a sense of renewal and rebirth and re-energization. So yeah, yep. So the deep reason is the most important part. So the woman I learned this from is Teal Swan. She's incredibly well known in the spiritual world. And she said that she tried this out on a guy, and he said they were on a date, and he said butterfly for his favorite animal. And she's like, okay, this feminine, okay, I can work with this, she's thinking. And then he starts to say, why? And he's like, because they are silent, they are beautiful, and they make magic, and then they fly away. And she's like, check, please. Right? The deep reason has such a big part of that, because if I met somebody and they were like, my favorite color is red because it's bold and it's aggressive and it's like powerful, and like maybe it might not be a match, right? So yeah,
I think it was Teal Swan where I had heard those questions, and
she's amazing.
I'm gonna have to answer them again, because my favorite color typically is, I say 2 different ones. I say red or I say black, but I'm pretty sure that time I said black because I feel like black goes like with everything. It just meshes with everything.
That makes sense of her personality.
A car could be black. I could wear the same thing every day. You know, I could use, you know, it's like, this is black. There's black. Phones are black. They make everything black because it just makes sense.
It's like a universal color,
Yeah.
That makes sense because you're such an easygoing person. Yeah. So that's very reflective of your personality.
What would the red meaning be?
I don't remember, but I think when I had answered the questions before, I had said black, you know, for that reason, because it just makes sense.
Yeah.
You don't really have to think about it. But what was the other question? The second one?
Your favorite animal.
Oh, favorite animal.
Animal.
And I don't remember what I said back then, but if I answered it now, I
Yeah.
would say my favorite animal would have to be a dog. And the deep reason why is because they just love so much and they are so forgiving and they only see the best in you. Like that's all they see. No matter how bad of a person or an owner you are, like they'll always see the best version of you. And yeah, I love dogs, you know, and I love dogs because they love me too. I mean, I like cats, but you know, dogs are just so cool. And I feel like if I were an animal, I would probably be like a black lab.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can see
I think I
that.
would.
And the little that you've said about your wife, it like sounds like she is very like she makes you laugh. She brings joy to your life. Like very reflective of what
Yeah,
a dog is.
she's insane.
Mhm.
And by that I mean she's so like normal that she's insane. Like I've never known someone just to be just not toxic.
Right.
You know, that I'm just like, wow. You know, I you know,
Like what?
even when
Sorry,
I'm
I'm so confused.
I know. I'm doing that. I'm doing that with my partner now. I'm like, wait, what? Like, what? Like, you're not gonna run when I'm like emotional? Like, what?
yeah, I mean, she's taught me a lot. I used to I used to be really bad about communicating how I feel or just talking about issues, period. And she would tell me, okay, look, so we need to talk about it. So how about we don't do it now, but let's try tomorrow at like 5 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And just the fact that she let me do it, like not right now, let me procrastinate on talking about it, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And I just felt so good.
Yeah.
You know, instead of forcing me, like, no, we need to talk about it like right now, you know,
Right.
whatever. And, you know, she's just so cool because I don't know how to explain it. I feel like because she's so uncool that she's cool. Like she goes to bed by 7 o'clock. She's up by 4:30 in the morning. She's so organized. Like I'm constantly double booking myself. I was telling her, I was like, babe, I'm going to a bachelorette party and you're not going to tell me otherwise. And she's like, oh yeah, when are you going? I was like, I'm going Thursday, the 18th of September. And she's like, no, you're not. And I was like, why? She was like, because you're going to be out of town. And I was like, I am? And she's like, that's why I'm in charge of the calendar.
Yeah.
But she's just 2 steps ahead all
Yeah.
the time.
Well, some of the most interesting people in the world have a very mundane, like personal life. They're just very disciplined people. And when you have those foundations, then you can build like the most interesting parts, juicy parts of your life. So
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Love it.
Mm-hmm. I think we're at time.
All right. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with us.
It was
I
such a
know
joy. It was
It's
so fun.
a long drive, and I never want to. I always appreciate someone's time. I know your time is super valuable. I know your time is super valuable. And I just thank you for being my friend again.
Same.
And yeah, I hope I get to see you again.
Oh,
Hopefully,
I'm
we get
sure
to
we
be
will.
friends. And I hope
Yes.
I get to, you know, do some of the stuff that you work
You
through.
got to have a session with
Yes,
her because she has
definitely.
mentioned
I'm ready.
some physical stuff that. And so, where can your followers find you?
Yeah, I am Danielle Lee Darling
Yeah.
on all social media channels, and that's Darling as in isn't she darling,
She is.
not
She's
Darlene.
She's so darling.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and all those areas.
And tell us about some of the work that you do with clients.
Yeah, so I
how it
have a couple
works.
different ways that you can work with me. I can do one-off sessions. I do have a container for women who are interested in having that group time, as group calls. It has my course. It has that type of interaction along with Theta healing. And then I also offer full one day or 2 day healings. If you're I work with a lot of entrepreneurial women who are like, I just want this stuff out. I want this stuff out. I want to get to the next level. So we go all day and go deep, and it allows me to chase the rabbit hole on all of the physical
It's
things and stuff
good.
like that.
Yeah.
Jenny's got a chance to experience that before, and it gives me the freedom to really connect that spider web to help them make sense of everything. And my goal is to help women feel unfuckable with, to have a mental and emotional sovereignty, knowing who they are, with that beautiful self-love and self-acceptance, and being able to walk in authenticity. And so that's my programs that I work with people on. So
That's awesome.
Yes, get it in with Danielle Lee Darling.
Cool.
Yeah.
Over and out. We're done.
All right, bye.